And welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Re-Watch-Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and it is episode number 157 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from January 28th, 1995, taped January 2nd, 1995, from the Sevier County High School in Sevierville, Tennessee. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the Wolfman to my Boo Bradley. It's Stevie J. Stevie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm just glad you didn't say that I was Mr. Pittner. I'll take Wolfman.
Oh, what's wrong with Mr. Pittner?
Tommy Pittner is the jobber du jour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Like, every time I see Tommy Pittner in a match, I automatically know what his role is.
So this is episode number 157. One of these two jobbers are going to be here on episode 200. And we'll see how you feel about Tommy Pittner and the Wolfman in 43 weeks.
If I'm still here in 43 weeks, Trey might be back by then.
We'll see. So this is simultaneously the birthday month for Smoky Mountain Wrestling as they start their fourth year, and the birthday month for the Something Else Podcast Network as we continue our birthday month. We've been in business for 4 years now, meaning this is our 5th year. We've made it longer than Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
And you will continue to make it longer than Smoky Mountain because you'll be going when they're gone.
Theoretically, you know. we'll see what the world brings us in 43 weeks.
Well, yeah, we could have a nuclear apocalypse before then. Who the hell knows?
Apocalypse, apocalypse. We cause it with our dumbness. So anyway,
apocalypse. Donald Trump was the reason.
Oh, we have to bleep that for the YouTube version of this. No, I'm just kidding. So I got some more sad news. This is the penultimate episode featuring the great Smoky Mountain theme song.
Well, I've got some more bad news. It's the penultimate episode featuring Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
I don't know about that, because next week, at least the file I have, next week cuts off the very beginning. So it doesn't have the musical intro, so I don't know if it's on there or not, but it is on the show in 2 weeks, and the show in 2 weeks is the final episode of this TV taping. So, worst case scenario, Eddie Gilbert
technically have more Eddie Gilbert to come then.
We could. I'll be honest, I didn't really look at next week's episode, so he could be on it. He may not be on, because next week is all about Super Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
Which
I kind of go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, depending on where in the Smoky Mountain area you were, Super Saturday Night Fever is either tonight or it was yesterday as this show is airing. Because as we've noted, before, like if you get the show in Knoxville, it aired on Sundays, so it would have been last night in Knoxville. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of the rest of the territory, they got it on Saturdays, so it would have been tonight.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, speaking of that, let's go to the intro here with JR and Les. We have a long intro, but we also don't have a ton of promos this week because we have some long matches. But let's go to the intro here.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm Jim Ross, along with Les Thatch. I want to thank you very much for being with us. We've got a phenomenal broadcast for you here this week, ladies and gentlemen. We expect to be joined by the Commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Bob Armstrong, in a few moments. But we're going to kick it off with some exciting tag team action.
Yes, we are. The Gangstas are back, and they're primed and ready to roll, Jim. I think it's going to be a hot one here tonight.
Plus, ladies and gentlemen, a very important Beat the Champ matchup. Nature Boy Buddy Landell will be here for his, I believe, 4th title defense. I think it's going to be his toughest.
It is the 4th, and yes, it will be the toughest because he's squaring off with the Dirty White Boy.
Well, that's going to be quite a matchup. You're going to see it right here. The Nature Boy Buddy Landell to take on the Dirty White Boy. Plus a very unique matchup, Les. A 16-man Smoky Mountain Rumble for $5,000 contested right here on this program today.
That's exactly right. 2 of those 16 men will start out, and 1 minute will be space between the wrestlers entering the ring, and the last man standing in that ring gets $5,000.
Stakes will be high, and of course, as we mentioned, the commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Bullet Bob Armstrong, is here. Bob's always good to see you, and I know you got some big news for us. I've got a little note on it myself about a big doubleheader weekend coming up.
Right, exactly right. We've both been comparing notes. We got doubleheader weekend coming up the 25th and 26th of February. Fall Brawl in the Hall, I believe they're going to call it. You know what hall I'm talking about, don't you?
Absolutely, Freedom Hall in Johnson City.
There ain't one but hall to brawl in, and that's Johnson City. And then the very next day on that doubleheader weekend, we got Sunday, Bloody Sunday #2, and everybody remembers what happens last time.
That's going to be on the two events. Let me remind you again. Brawl in the Hall and Freedom Hall in Johnson City, Saturday, February 25th, 8 o'clock. And on Sunday, it's Sunday, February 26th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Bloody Sunday 2 in Knoxville, Tennessee. Bob, I want to take you back to last week. You had a situation here. Some words were said, some strong words, I should say, between yourself and the Gangstas, and then a matchup involving your son, Steve, and New Jack. Here's what happened last week, ladies and gentlemen, in that situation.
So this was not the smoothest Bob Armstrong we've ever seen on this show. He stumbled over his words quite a bit there, talking about the brawl in the hall. And I think it goes to when you're taping so many shows at one time, and due to, when they're airing, you're like promoting two entirely different big events, because they just spend 2 weeks talking about, got to go to Super Saturday Night Fever, and then all of a sudden in the same taping, it's, oh, ignore what we just said about that. Let's now talk about the end of February.
As I was trying to type my notes during Bullet Bob's promo, I wrote down at least 3 different things, and none of them were actually what the event was called. I wrote Fall Ma Brawl, and that wasn't it. I wrote Brawl Mahal, and I was like, did he mean Brawl Mahala, like Valhalla? And then finally, later on in the show, I heard Jim Ross call it Brawl in the Hall, and I was very clear about what it was at that point. But Bullet Bob was doing me no favors here.
No, which is amazing, because, Bullet Bob is, one of the finest spokesmen in this company that we've seen over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I take nothing away from him. He's a legend in the business and great on the mic in most cases, but not here, not tonight.
Most definitely. So this week we're going to have Buddy Landell versus the Dirty White Boy for the Beat the Champ, and a 16-man Rumble for $5,000. We'll get to that later, but it made me think about the last time we had a Rumble match on Smoky Mountain. It was the entire hour of the show. It basically started, they started it when the show began and ended it when the show ended. Whereas this one is a lot more condensed, shall we say.
You're right. I'm glad it's not going to be the whole hour, but I'm also glad they made it a believable amount of money. They didn't call it the $100,000 Rumble or the $1 million Rumble. Like it's an amount that, even though they would never pay this amount, and we both know this, it's at least conceivable and believable that they could afford $5,000 for the winner. Like you can almost you can suspend a little disbelief for that amount.
Well, we got to put an asterisk on that. So I made this note later on to talk about, but before you joined, this was a week or two before you joined, they announced that all throughout January there'd be these Rumbles, and each entrant had to put in $250, and then whatever the prize money was, Smoky Mountain would pay whatever the remaining amount is. So based on that, Smoky Mountain only had to pay $1,000 into this, because the 16 guys would contribute $250 each.
So they're cheap bastards, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Because I remember, hey, when Buddy won the Beat the Champ, he could enter 4 Smoky Mountain Rumbles just on his $1,000.
Mm-hmm. And I know this is a little bit of foreshadowing, but I feel like we had a very Hunger Games finish to this Rumble. Like, I didn't know they could do that, and I didn't know that was allowed. But I guess if they wanted to go there, they went there, because that's what they did.
Yes, they did. All right. So we got the replay of Bullet Bob and New Jack from last week and the match that never happened. And then we're going to get a very, I don't want to say a clumsily edited segment, but we're going to be going back and forth a bunch over about 4 minutes with Bob Armstrong, Steve Armstrong, Mark Curtis, Jim Cornette, Tracy Smothers, and we're going to keep going back and forth between pre-taped and, well, quote-unquote live, back to the desk with JR and Bob Armstrong. So let's go to that now, and then Stevie and I will be back at the end to try to tie it all together.
In the locker room, shortly after the attack of the Gangstas on Steve Armstrong, Bob, we've called a doctor. This boy needs some medical attention.
Well, no doubt about it. And I think the Gangstas have kind of overstepped their bounds, don't you think? You know, a gang fight's a gang fight. That's when one gang fights another. Well, the Armstrongs are kind of a gang themselves. Steve has family. And I'll guarantee you this, they won't like it when they hear about this. They may pay the price, and they may pay the price well. We'll see.
Bob Armstrong, let me say one thing. I know you don't want to hear from me, maybe, but all I got to say is anytime any of your boys, anybody, I don't care who it is, wants to take on the Gangstas, they got my help any way I can.
Well, let me say this. I do know you did try to help my son, and I don't want to owe you any favors, but it looks like I may now. So I will. I'll give you one favor, but choose it carefully because it's going to be your last.
Got it.
And there you have it from the locker room with the Armstrongs.
Well, Bob, I know your son Steve's going to be out of action for a while, but to understand Scott is at 100%.
Well, you know, one thing about it, when you kick one Armstrong, we all feel it. And old Dixie Dynamite was a little more than upset when he heard about what happened to his brother Steve.
Let's hear these comments from Scott Armstrong, and then you're going to hear some comments from Tracy Smothers.
Gangstas, take a good look, boys. You see that picture right there? That's the boys, the Southern Boys is who that is. The wild-eyed Southern Boys. They was a tag team a long time ago. Maybe you don't know about them guys. They're from the South. That's my brother Steve Armstrong and that other wild-eyed Southern boy, Tracy Smothers. I'll tell you what you did, boys. You put my brother in the hospital. His knee is all tore up. He's on crutches. He's got a bandage from here all the way down to his ankle. Can't get up and walk around, can't make a living. So if that's what you boys think you take pride in, well, good. I'm happy for you. But I got another little piece of business I want to take care of. And that's, I want to ask Tracy Smothers a big favor. You know, Tracy, me and Steve talked long and hard, and he ain't going to be able to wrestle. So Steve said, well, what about Tracy? And you know, it never dawned on me. But when Steve said it, I thought, who else? That's the only man in the wrestling business that's just like a brother to any one of the Armstrong boys. So what I did is I went into Steve's closet when I went over to his house to see how his leg was doing, and I dug out the wild-eyed Southern boy jacket. And what he's grown out of, I've grown into. So Tracy, I want to ask you one big favor, brother. Let me be your tag team partner. Let's reunite the wild-eyed Southern boys. Let's call it the new wild-eyed Southern boys. Scott Armstrong, Tracy Smothers, the new wild-eyed Southern boys. And let's take them Gangstas apart piece by piece.
You know, Scott Armstrong called me on the phone the other night, and he told me what happened to Steve. He told me how the Gangstas jumped on him, how they hurt his knee. You know something, Gangsters, it's one thing to win and lose a wrestling match, but when you try to end somebody's career, it's another. Scott asked me, he said, hey, I know that y'all are like brothers because y'all were on the road together 5 years, went all over the world, all corners of the world, been through all situations, and then when you see something like this happen, he wants me to be his partner. You don't got to ask me, Scott. You know I'm going to be there because the Armstrong's family is like my second family. I respect all of them. So I'm going to tell you this, Gangsters, you're rough, tough, and you're hard to bluff, but you better remember the wild-eyed Southern boys are guaranteed not to rust, bust, collect dust, bend, break, or splinter. We were born on a mountain. We was raised on a cave. Fighting and women is all we crave. And Gangsters, you don't need not worry about the Ku Klux Klan, the NAACP, the Rock and Roll Express, or Jim Cornette and the Heavenly Bodies. You better worry about Tracy Smothers and Scott Armstrong, the new Southern boys, and we're going to be on you like a duck on a June bug.
Boy, that's going to be a great combination. Tracy Smothers, Scott Armstrong together against the Gangstas.
Well, you know, it's a new version of the wild-eyed Southern boys. I've seen Scott go till he can't go no more. And, you know, Tracy's just like another son of mine. I got a feeling that when they get to Smoky Mountain, they're going to ride them Gangstas hard and put them up wet.
Ladies and gentlemen, what up?
All right. So a lot to unpack here.
Oh, a lot. May I start?
Of course. Go right ahead.
So, for those who don't know, there was an album by 38 Special called Wild Eyed Southern Boys. That's where the team of Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong got their name from. And they were in championship wrestling from Florida in 1987. and went on to go through, as they said, all around the world and back again. They went to New Japan, United States Wrestling, WCW. They eventually became the Young Pistols because they couldn't be the Wild Eyed Southern Boys or even the Southern Boys. So they had to change their name. But they did have a pretty good 4-year run as a tag team. However, during Armstrong's promo, I could not take my eyes off the Confederate flag in the background. And I
Yep.
get that this was still a time and a place where you could be from the South and display the Confederate flag, and people would alert to that and take pride in that. But even in the mid 90s, I think the attitude on that was starting to change just a little bit.
See, my impression is that if you had a Southern Territory in Tennessee, Alabama, and that area today, walking out with the Confederate flag would make you a babyface.
Mhm.
That's the impression that I have myself. Maybe I am delightfully wrong again, but that's the impression I get. But the funny thing is, they didn't become the Young Pistols because of like a trademark thing, but because WCW felt that, they were too Southern. Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong, who's ever, have you ever heard them speak before? And so they became the Young Pistols from Cheyenne, Wyoming. And when Tracy Smothers debuted in Smoky Mountain, he had this great promo sitting on a swing in his front porch, talking about how he's got nothing against the people from Cheyenne, Wyoming, but he's never been there and he reckons he's never going to go.
So he killed the gimmick the very first night, sort of like Dustin Rhodes when they asked him to play 7.
Well, at least he did that. Tracy didn't kill the gimmick in WCW. Tracy killed the gimmick when he got to Smoky Mountain and he put it down. Like 7 just did it right on, WCW Nitro.
Which is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They asked me to dress up for Halloween all year long.
They dressed me like Uncle Fester to have me play Halloween. Oh, God. By the way, Scott goes into Steve's closet and steals his jacket, by the way. Get your own damn jacket, Scott.
Well, he's grown out of, I've grown into. Well, that's one explanation.
It's not what you make, it's what you save, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I did think it was funny because while they don't flat out say this, but it more or less spoils the fact that Tracy does not beat Buddy Landell at Super Saturday Night Fever to become the #1 contender. Because if he was, he wouldn't be wasting his time in a feud with the Gangstas.
It also kind of throws a monkey wrench in this whole idea of the heavenly bodies being there to dismember the Gangstas. It's like, wait a minute, how many tag teams do we need to dismantle the Gangstas? Does it really require that many hitmen?
Well, the heavenly bodies are only there as a one-time thing, because they're in the WWF. They're just coming in for a one-night only reunion.
Right, but now Bob says he owes Cornette another favor, so maybe he'd bring them back for another appearance. You don't even know what that favor would be when he calls that chip in.
That's true, but we'll see how this plays out. We'll see how this plays out.
And also the references to the Ku Klux Klan and the NAACP, I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I know Cornette said some things that made Jim Ross go, the views of Jim Cornette are not the views of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but we didn't get any of those disclaimers for Tracy Smothers here.
Oh, you should have been here when New Jack debuted. The New Jack we're getting now is like, it's like WWE going PG in comparison to New Jack when he debuted.
So are you telling me this is like the PG version of Tracy Smothers?
Oh no, PG version of New Jack. When New Jack came in, he very much took his quest to piss off white people very seriously.
Oh, I know that, but I'm saying, is Tracy Smothers on a quest to piss off liberals? That's what I'm asking you.
Well, it's Tennessee. There's not a whole lot of them around. But anyway, we go to the ring for our first match. It is Tommy Pittner and the Wolfman versus the Gangstas. Picture Moondog Spot if he had no talent. and that's the Wolfman, ladies and gentlemen. Now,
Yeah,
in
picture a guy
reality,
who's all hair and no wrestling.
the reason why he has this spot and the reason why he's going to have this spot for the rest of Smoky Mountain is because he's the guy that drove Buddy Landell to the shows, and so Cornette booked him as a favorite of Buddy.
I thought
Literally,
it was a
that's
favor to the Adams family because he looks like Cousin It.
Mustafa breaks out a top rope Vader bomb of all things. He's done it before, but it's still weird to see. Jack broke out a gut wrench suplex of all things. When the hell did New Jack learn to wrestle is what I want to know. And then Jack pinned Pittner with the 187.
Yeah, well, with a little bit of an assist because Mustafa like got behind him and launched him to make the headbutt land even harder.
Well, that's what it's called in Smoky Mountain. It's the rocket launcher headbutt slash splash.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts about this match?
A completely one-sided ass kicking and absolutely what I expected when you send out the Wolfman and Pittner to face the Gangstas. It probably should have been an even bigger one-sided beating.
Well, someone had to get some minutes in on this week's show.
Mm.
Let's now go to the Gangstas with their post-match victory promo.
All right, Les, thanks very much. And, well, gentlemen, you will now be facing Tracy Smothers and Scott Armstrong. What you did last week, all three of it jumping on Steve Armstrong, was totally uncalled for.
You ought to be used to it by now. Armstrongs, you want to stick your nose in my business. Cornette, first, you want to walk with the Rock and Roll Express. Now, you almost paralyzed. Now, you want to get with the Armstrongs, and then Jimmy Punk Del Rey and Tom Roddy Piper Pritchard. You want some of me? You want some of Mustafa? Bring it down here. We done told you. We done proved the point. The Gangstas not to be played with. You want violence? We giving you violence. You want to mess with us? Bring it on. Now, we on a mission. Cornette, you got hurt, but your heart still beating. We gonna get you. Somebody gonna have a funeral in 95. Heavenly Bodies, you going down. Armstrongs, you going down. Bullet Bob, get in my way, and I'm gonna show you, old man, just how bad we can get. You wanna get some? Bring it on. Now the Gangstas in the house, and we ain't going nowhere until we feel like it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I always love when we say like the Gangstas promo or the Rock and Roll Express cutting a promo. The Rock and Roll Express and the Gangstas are not cutting promos. New Jack is cutting a promo. Ricky Morton is cutting a promo.
Is just laughing. He's going, whoa.
Let's be honest, that's the best use for Mustafa in a promo. You know? I'll be honest, like Mustafa, like with all due respect, I'm sure he's a very nice guy. But it's like, what really did he bring to pro wrestling? He was not very good in the ring at all. And he couldn't cut a promo. Like the best he could say is like, he's a tall, intimidating looking African-American gentleman. And that's about it.
He was one half of a tag team where he was basically the Marty Jannetty to Shawn Michaels.
Comparing New Jack and Shawn Michaels. I'm just thinking,
I'm sorry, but
imagine,
one guy's a star and one guy's Marty Jannetty. That's just the way these things work.
Imagine Shawn Michaels, like the 96, 97, filled up, hating the world Shawn Michaels versus New Jack. New Jack would have a shorter program with him than Vader did.
That's true, but I'm sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think New Jack might have actually been more professional with him than Vader was, because Shawn got very pissed at how stiff Vader was being.
The funny thing is, like, if New Jack had been light with him, and I'm sure he would have been, it would have been shit. It's like,
This is also true. Nobody really wants New Jack to go easy.
Except the people wrestling him. They want him to go easy. But I had to laugh because, like, when I was a kid, it never occurred to me how blatant of a ripoff Tom Pritchard was doing of Roddy Piper during his promos. but it's like we're not even pretending. Like New Jack's calling him out on it here in the promos.
Yeah, this was vintage New Jack. I mean, out of breath, screaming at the top of his lungs, calling people out on shit. He was on fire.
Yeah. Enjoy it while it lasts, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy it while it lasts. Speaking of enjoying things while they last, after a recap of Boo Bradley, Chris Candido, and Tammy Fitch from last week, when Candido dumped dog food on poor Boo Bradley and it caused Boo to hulk up, Chris Candido, who again is the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, has something to say here to good old JR.
That's what happened last week. Now, somewhere along the way, you're going to have to pay for how you treated Boo Bradley.
All because of what happened last week, Smoky Mountain Wrestling has gone ahead and done it to me again. After 2 years of trying to make a complete fool of me, they have now sanctioned another ridiculous match. Because of what happened last week, I don't have to have a match with that moron Boo Bradley, where the loser of the match has to eat dog food. Well, let me tell you people something. I'm a man, I'm a class athlete, I'm not a dog, I don't eat dog food. Boo Bradley probably doesn't care because he loves dog food. That's what that idiot eats. In fact, that Alpo I fed him last week was higher priced than the stuff he should be eating. He's nothing but a piece of trash, and there is no way. Gosh almighty! He's got a chain! He's got a He's got a chain. Boo, calm down. Candido running for the locker room.
Jim, I'm sorry. But Chris!
Let's move back over here. Calm down, okay?
Chris, when I get you in that ring, I'm gonna make you eat dog food. I'm gonna shove it down your throat. No man deserves to be treated like I was treated by you. And I'm gonna get you and you're not gonna like it. I'm sorry, Jim.
Everything's gonna be all right.
I had to pop for Candido talking about Smoky Mountain putting him in yet another goofy stipulation match, because the first 6 months or so that he was here, he was in every loser does this match you could think of. You know, loser wears a baby bonnet, the loser drinks from a baby bottle, diaper matches, whipping matches, like everything you could possibly do for a loser, tar and feather matches. It was like the first 6 months, that was everything Chris Candido was doing over and over again before he did his team with Brian Lee. And now we're back to it here at the end of Candido in the territory. It's loser eats dog food.
My takeaway was different, probably because I was recent to doing Smoky Mountain, but I loved the intensity of Boo Bradley interrupting the interview and not even letting him finish and attacking him with the chain. And Jim Ross, like he's working at a special needs home, is like, calm down, come over here, calm down, everything's gonna be all right. You know, he's trying to reason with somebody who's clearly in an unreasonable state. So everybody played their part to perfection here.
Honestly, this may have been the best thing Boo Bradley has done since coming into the territory. Like, you know, because like he's been the simpleton who, you know, gets let around on a dog leash and has a pet cat that Tammy Fitch won't let him pet. But like this was like I don't know, the most realistic. This was something I think people could get behind, this Boo Bradley, more than just, you know, someone killed his cat and now he's getting revenge kind of thing. Like,
right. And just the fire with which he says, I'm going to make you eat dog food. I'm going to shove it down your throat. It's like, where has this Boo Bradley been the whole time? Like, this is the Boo Bradley that people will root for.
Yeah. And like I said, enjoy Chris Candido while we have him, because he is skipping up to the WWF in about a month.
Yes, and enjoy the promo for the Smoky Mountain hotline that followed this.
I didn't even write it down. What was the question this week? I didn't even write it down.
I wrote down the phone number. I didn't write down the question, but I do remember it being plugged as the truth about wrestling in general and not just about Smoky Mountain. Like, get the dirt on everybody.
Yes, they have mentioned before, you know, that they would talk about Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and everything else. So yeah, So from here we go to Beat the Champ TV champion Buddy Landell defending the Beat the Champ against Smoky Mountain champion, the Dirty White Boy. And I was a little surprised they did this match. Not that they haven't done this and Beat the Champ before, but it's like they were literally plugging these two wrestling this weekend at Super Saturday Night Fever, and here they are having a standard wrestling match. So Buddy attacked White Boy during his entrance, threw him in the ring, and then posed with White Boy's belt. White Boy came back and dropped Landell with the DDT on the belt. I assume at some point the match technically began, even though the bell never rang. Buddy has apparently said a lot of nasty things about the dirty white girl, but JR can't tell us on TV because his mama is watching. However, you can find out what Buddy Landell's been saying with the dirty white girl by spending 99 cents a minute and calling 1-900-73-SMOKY. You know, kids, get your parents' permission before calling the Smoky Mountain Hotline to find out what Buddy Landell is saying about the dirty white girl. White Boy used Buddy Landell's corkscrew elbow in the figure 4, but Landell got the ropes. Buddy got knucks out and knocked White Boy the fuck out to get the pin and retain the Beat the Champ TV title. Good match. I think, if this was last week, this could have added a lot of fuel to the fire for Super Saturday Night Fever. But, the feud is continuing. It's not ending this weekend.
Yeah, it feels a little ill-timed. It's almost too late for Super Saturday Night Fever to be doing this. And it also felt like an afterthought because the whole fact of pulling out brass knucks and cheating to retain in a match where if you complete the series, you win a cash prize, that should have been a bigger deal than it was. But I know you're going to go to an audio clip that immediately followed this, where they gave us no time to reflect on what happened and went right to Eddie Gilbert and Unabomb.
I didn't have that timestamp. It was just I wrote a recap of last week's Rock and Roll Express versus Eddie Gilbert and Unabomb match. But yeah, it was very much it was actually the Vince Russo to the back TNA moment where, you can't grieve for too long, I guess.
No, and it was also a very ECW moment when you said the match started and we don't know when. Like, okay, that's every ECW episode ever. Put two people in the ring and let them fight it. At some point, it was actually a match, but when it started, who knows?
This was more than likely not the first time JR mentioned his mama. But that becomes like a trope in the late 90s WWF, whereas like every time something wacky would happen, JR would say that his mama was watching. Jim was, of course, very close to his mom before she passed away, which is right around the time he got his next bout of Bell's palsy.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like in some ways he took cues from Jim Cornette, because Cornette in the 80s always said he was a mama's boy and that his mom provided all the money for him. So maybe referencing his mama was subconsciously or unconsciously a reference to Cornette.
That's possible too. The one thing I'm not a fan, like we mentioned this with Beat the Champ before, where they'll either do this where it's jobber, and then big star as the fifth guy, or it'll be jobber, big star, and then jobber again. So it's like I'm fully expecting in 2 weeks for Buddy's fifth match to be against Tommy Pittner or the Wolfman. It's
or Scotty McKeever.
Scotty McKeever. I guess Scotty Riggs is officially in WCW now because he was here for a little bit. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, speaking of people who are in Smoky Mountain for a little bit, want to send best wishes to the family of Dory Funk Jr. We're recording this on Tuesday, and Dory passed away earlier today. And so we just want to send love and best wishes to his family and loved ones.
Yeah, 85 years old, and he was in hospice care at the time. We don't know why, and it doesn't matter because we lost a legend, one of the greatest NWA World Heavyweight Champions of all time. Like, no offense to Chris Candido, but Dory Funk Jr. was the champion for 4 years straight. The only person who had a longer reign than him was Lou Thez. And when you talk about going all around the world and back again, the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys may have been a few places, but Dory Funk and his sons, Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk, really did go all around the world and back again.
Dory and Terry, until Jay and Mark Briscoe, and you can argue whether or not the Ring of Honor title is a world title, but until Jay and Mark Briscoe, Dory and Terry Funk were the only brothers to ever be world champion, which
That
is
is true.
kind of insane to this day. Like the fact that the only other people you could mention are maybe Jay and Mark Briscoe is just insane when you ultimately think about how many sets of siblings have been in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been some fathers and sons, but not brothers, not like the Funks
Yeah.
and the Briscoes.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say not even sisters, but I guess the Bellas were both the women's champion at some point. You know, whether or not you want to consider that a world title or something, it's another story. But yeah,
Was that the
but
butterfly
yeah,
belt that they held at the time?
I believe so. And actually, I had to double check whether Brie actually ever was champion. Like I know Nikki was champion forever that time. You know,
Mhm.
when it was like at the end of the Divas era. But I'd actually have to look back to see if Brie ever won it.
Speaking of
But
best wishes to Bree, who broke her scapula at
yes,
SummerSlam. So hopefully she heals up fully and recovers well.
uh, I assume Nick Aldis did not turn heel, but like why? Like why is he fucking with Sami Zayn? Why is he? It's not even fucking with Sami Zayn at this point. He fucked with Finn Balor too, and I'm assuming it's WWE, so they're never really going to explain why he decided to fuck with Finn Balor. Because I know Sammy's a heel, and you know he's worthy of being fucked with. But Finn Balor had a number one contenders match get turned into a four-way just so Nick Aldis could fuck with Sami Zayn.
The only thing I can conclude is that it wasn't even Nick Aldis that was doing it. It was powers from above directing him to do it. That's my kayfabe explanation.
I don't know. It's like I saw on Sunday like, oh, there's supposed to be a big storyline development in that match. And so like and I go on Twitter at like 6:30 or whatever, and it's like Kevin Owens wins the match between Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. I'm like, what the fuck? When the fuck did that like what?
Well, they
This is
did
like
kind
a
of tease it by having Kevin Owens show up at the Fanatics Fest or whatever it was called. Like he made a surprise cameo appearance, so you kind of had a feeling they were going to work him into SummerSlam one way or the other.
well, this is like when I was at WrestleMania 27 and the winner of the match between Sheamus and Daniel Bryan was the Great Khali.
You forget I
Um,
was there for that too. God, I still can't get the memory of The Miz and John Cena main eventing a WrestleMania out of my head, or Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler having a quote unquote WrestleMania match. I've been to a lot of WrestleManias. That one might have been the worst.
I talked to Jerry Lawler about that, you know, when I met him, and he said the way that match was put together was Arn Anderson's fault. Because I guess
Oh.
Arn Anderson was the agent, and he said Arn was the one that put all that together.
Like I have all the respect for Arn in the world, so I'm gonna give him some grace on that one. Like one bad apple in the bunch is not gonna ruin the whole bunch for me. But if you wanted to judge Arn by that one, I wouldn't blame you.
All right. So after the recap of the Rock and Rolls versus Eddie Gilbert and Unabomb, we get the Smoky Mountain Rumble for $5,000. This is where I note that, you know, they told us a few weeks ago each man put in $250 and Smoky Mountain puts in the balance. So they only had to contribute $1,000 this week. And actually, like as the match was going on, and we'll go through all the participants, when we got to some of these people, I'm like, really? This person put in $250? We're supposed to believe this person with no chance. But hey, you know, the people with no chance actually last longer than the people with the chance. But we'll go through this here. Number one is Robert Gibson. Number two is New Jack. And stop me if you have anything to say about anything here. But I note that if this was TNA, because TNA, they love two things, the Royal Rumble and specifically the 1995 Royal Rumble. So if this was TNA, Robert Gibson or New Jack would be the favorites to win because TNA just loved booking people to go coast to coast in their Royal Rumble matches. Gibson gave New Jack a small package, which is as helpful as an extra hole in your head in the Battle Royal, which, hey, if you want
Right.
an extra hole in your head, New Jack would be happy to give you one.
But at least it gave JR an excuse to say on commentary that pins don't matter. It's like, well, for people who've never seen a Rumble before, that's at least helpful to do that spot and have JR announce it.
I guess. Number 3 is the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Suicide Blonde Chris Candido. And I had to laugh because New Jack's been here for 7 months, and it's been very, us against all the white people. And so JR and Les are like, I think New Jack's not going to go after Candido as hard as he has Robert Gibson, because they're heels, not because Candido is lily white. Number 4 is George South. Number 5 is Boo Bradley. Now, we mentioned Boo's mental capacity earlier and how he did, have that great promo, or not great promo, but great angle with Candido earlier. Does Boo have the mental capacity to be able to make his own financial decisions to the point where he can contribute $250 or spend $250 to enter this battle royal?
Well, remember that Mick Foley promo, the first one they did together when we first started doing Smoky Mountain together, where he said, this paper certifies that you're a free man and that you're able to take care of yourself and be on your own. So I would assume, yes, based on that piece of paper, he is qualified to make those kind of decisions.
Well, whether or not he can or not, he eliminated Candido anyway. George South, of all people, got some offense in. Number 6 is Buddy Landell, who a few weeks ago, Buddy Landell said he would not waste his time to enter because the prize money wasn't enough for him to bother with it.
Maybe they paid him the $250 to be in it. Maybe they were like, you know what? We'll give you the money. You appear.
There you go. It's like that boxer at the first UFC show that they had to give like $20,000 to have him come in so he could lose to Hoist Gracie.
Wasn't that Art Jimerson, the guy with one glove?
It was Art Jimerson. With
Mm-hmm.
what theoretically was a solid idea. I say theoretically because, the theory was he'd get Hoist down and hold him down with his bare hand and punch him with his gloved hand. Unfortunately, Art had no clue what the hell he was getting himself into.
No, and you're going against the master of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. If you've got no clue how to defend against any of those moves, you're screwed.
Yes. We said number 7 is Tommy Pittner, who could barely get in the ring, which did not bode well for him.
No, even Jim Ross said on commentary, Pittner is in, but for how long? Like, wow, burial by Jim Ross.
So we go to commercial, and one of my favorite things is to always guesstimate how long these commercial breaks are during Royal Rumbles, because it's like, okay, how many people entered during the commercial break? Well, it turned out it was like when AEW does a Casino Gauntlet match on free TV. They just didn't do any entrances during the commercial break.
And in fact, JR said no one was eliminated during the break either.
Yeah. Number 8 was the Dirty White Boy, who tossed Buddy, and then White Boy cared so much about the $5,000 that he just ran to the back. He didn't even go over to the top rope. He just chased Buddy to the back, and he was counted out.
Well, can you blame him? He got hit with brass knucks earlier. I'd be pissed off.
That is true. But it reminds me of how Finlay once got disqualified in the Royal Rumble, even though he did something like half a dozen people have done over the years. Number 9, I had to laugh. Number 9 was Bryant Anderson, who hasn't been seen on TV since before Christmas Chaos. And I didn't look, I meant to, but I think this is Bryant Anderson's last appearance in Smoky Mountain. Because actually, we never talked about this. Trey and I meant to tell this to Trey, and then it never aired on TV, so we never talked about it. But he had I Quit matches with Tracy Smothers over Christmas Chaos, and they did a total screw job finish. And it wasn't even a good screw job finish. It's Tracy had him at some sort of move. Mark Curtis asked him if he quit, and he said, "No, you quit it." And Mark Curtis counted that as a submission.
Oh, Lord.
So actually, this is not going to be Bryant Anderson's last TV match. He will be here in 2 weeks. Spoiler alert. But that's it for young Bryant Anderson. Let's see. Number 10 is Mustafa Saeed. Gibson almost immediately sent Jack in and Mustafa, and they both tumbled out. Number 11 is the Wolfman. Number 12 is D'Lo Brown, who tossed Robert Gibson. D'Lo is non-discriminate. He'll go after all white people. Number 13 is Stevie's favorite jobber, Scotty McKeever. Boo eliminates Bryant. Boo and D'Lo then go out together. And so it's down to 4 enhancement talents. Wolfman, Scotty McKeever, George South, and Tommy Pittner are the only 4 people in the ring at this point after 13 people have entered. So, hey, maybe it was worth them putting in their money.
And Jim Ross even made a point of that. He was like, this is so unlikely, but anything can happen in a Rumble that any of these men could win it.
Well, number 14 was Unabomb, who powerbombed and eliminated all 4 of them.
In rapid succession, powerbomb, toss. It was like watching Kane in a Rumble. Imagine that.
Kane has gone crazy here. By the way, the funniest thing about this is like he's using the powerbomb as a finish. And by the way, they tell us that his powerbomb is called the Unabomb. Go figure.
Yeah, Eddie Gilbert screams it at us. He insists that we call it the Unabomb.
Oh, that's actually at the end of the show. Never mind. I jumped the gun there. But anyway, the reason why that's funny is because when Unabomb becomes the fake Diesel, his finish is the powerbomb, but it's such a shitty powerbomb. I remember thinking, wow, that looks terrible. Like, Unabomb's powerbomb was so much better than Diesel's. Well, Glenn Jacobs says Diesel.
Yeah, but that's in part because he was trying to portray how somebody else does a move, which means you're not going to do the move as effectively as if you did it yourself.
Yeah. Number 15 is Ricky Morton. Morton picked Unabomb in the groin. And number 16, lucky number 16, Eddie Gilbert. I didn't think he was here long enough to earn $250, but apparently he did. He ran in, he threw powder in Ricky Morton's eyes and tossed him out. So we're down to Gilbert and Unabomb, and they didn't even tease anything. They refused to wrestle each other, so Mark Curtis declared them the co-winners of the Smoky Mountain Rumble.
Yes, our Katniss and PETA, both victors of the Hunger Games. They share the prize.
This is at least better than that Battle Royal they did like 6 months ago, where it was like for $5,000 again, and it came down to, I think, New Jack and Ricky Morton, and they started brawling on the ground. Like, they took each other down and were brawling like almost in a catfight spot, and the referee threw the match out and declared it a no contest.
No, that's cheap. I know I said they were cheap bastards earlier, but that's double cheap.
Yeah. At least here they put up $1,000, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So for a TV battle royal, this was certainly fine. It progressed several storylines, and it let Unabomb murder a bunch of jobbers, getting him over. So it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on this one before we go to the show closing promo?
Not much I can add because we've already spoiled the fact that he insisted that we call it the Unabomb. So we might as well go to that promo where Gilbert says as much.
Might as well. Let's go to Eddie Gilbert, Unabomb, and JR.
All right, we're back here, ladies and gentlemen. You win the $5,000. Why didn't you compete with him, Eddie?
You know, Jim Ross, I've got to tell you something. I'm very exhausted. I'm very tired. You know
why?
Because I stayed in there. How many guys were in at 16? Count myself. I had to,
3.
Actually, I had to beat about 14 other guys to win this thing, and I'm very, very tired. It was a hard-fought match. I have to correct you and Mr. Thatcher on something, though.
What's that?
It is not a power bomb that this man does. We call it the Unabomb.
I'll remember that from now on.
And I do. See, you're trying to take my money already, aren't you? But I'm going to put it right in here for safekeeping because, you see, I don't trust anybody. For some reason or another, people in wrestling don't seem to like hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert. They don't seem to like Unabomb. I see Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson running around here. Ricky Morton just tried to throw powder in my face, but I got him back.
Wait a minute. Are you hallucinating?
I'm not hallucinating. I'm not I'm not looking at him.
There's nobody around there.
There was somebody right there. There's people everywhere, and I'm going to serve notice right now. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what your name is. You don't even have to wrestle here in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I have been fired. I have been run out of every wrestling organization I've ever been in. So Smoky Mountain Wrestling, you don't even have me to contend with. You have the most deadliest weapon I have ever come across in wrestling, and I've had them all. I had Sting when he started. I had Rick Steiner when he started, and now the greatest find of them all is Unabomb. Smoky Mountain Wrestling, you are mine.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you hear from Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. They're $5,000 richer, and next week we'll have highlights from Super Saturday Night Fever, from my pal Les Thatcher and all the...
He's dead in 3 weeks.
I know, but I do love the intensity of the promo because he's playing up this idea that he's exhausted and Jim Ross is calling bullshit on it, but yet at the same time, he's sucking wind with every word he says. I had them all. I had Sting. He's like selling this idea so hard that he's completely gassed. It's beautiful.
I had to love this. Like, I know we talked, the first week that, like, man, there was something just off about him, and I don't know. It's like, it still seems something's a little off, but it's like he's tremendous. It's a great thing. It's too bad, like, it's only one TV taping. Like, he just does not come back at all. He was in Puerto Rico, but yeah. I had to laugh because when he called it the Unabomb, I had flashbacks of Brian Kendrick renaming sliced bread number 2 the Kendrick, which was a rib on Mike Adamle, who used to call Taz the Taz.
And called Jeff Hardy Jeff Hardy.
Yes. Mike Adamle made 1 or 2 mistakes over his 8 months in WWE.
Yeah, not the greatest announcer ever, but you know what? Charming in his own way.
Now, do you think The Rock was watching his Smoky Mountain tapes when he was putting together his shtick? Because here's Eddie Gilbert screaming, "It doesn't matter what your name is."
I wouldn't accuse The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Rocky Maivia, whatever you want to call him, of cribbing from this. But at the same time, if he took a little inspiration, I wouldn't blame him.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, it's sad that it isn't going to last. Do you know who Unabomb's next partner is going to be? I guess who Eddie Gilbert's replacement, for lack of a better word.
Well, it would have to be a heel, right? So
yes, it's somebody not in the territory right now,
okay,
but it is somebody who becomes a name star in wrestling.
Maybe you just let me watch it and find out. But if you want to spoil it, you can.
No. I'll let you watch. Maybe you'll figure it out before this happens. I think it's in 3 weeks. And I'm curious as to how this person does in comparison to Eddie Gilbert.
Yes, I'm curious as well. You've piqued my curiosity now, but I feel like this show would do that for anybody who stumbled into it. Like Smoky Mountain, I know I say this and I'm going to say it again. It's such an easy watch because they give you all the video packages and all the recaps, and you can't not know what's going on when you watch this show. Even if it's your first episode, you're going to figure it out.
Exactly. And you actually came in at a good time because there's going to be a lot of roster turnover. So it's all like you missed it by a couple of weeks. Like if you would have come in like at the beginning of March, that would have been perfect because like it's like an entirely new company come March. But you came in right as returning things are over. So it's like it's a good time to come in. It's like when you start watching Doctor Who at the beginning of a new Doctor.
Right. And well, I didn't have that kind of luck. I stumbled in midway through Tom Baker's run, but he was so good that I was immediately hooked.
I started watching episode 1 of Peter Capaldi on.
Oh wow,
Um,
you started late then. I mean, I'm old school, but I guess I'm really old school.
well, I say that I started watching it with Capaldi, but it's like my best friend at the time, got all the DVDs of 11 and 12, and so it's like she was watching it, and I watched it because I wanted to hang out with her, and then
Mhm.
like it was just around the time that 13 started, and
Now, do you know
yeah,
Capaldi was in Doctor Who before he was the Doctor?
I was unaware of that at the time, but I believe I know that. But
Yeah, but if you watch The Fires of Pompeii, he's a very prominent part of that episode.
nice. Well, 157 down, 43 to go. And before we finish things up, I'd like to tell you what else is happening in the world of wrestling, because we can tell you January 28th until I'm blue in the face, but this way you get some sort of context, so this way you understand what's going on in the world of wrestling. And the big news this week is Harley Race was in a serious auto wreck near his home in Kansas City. Uh, he broke both hands and his hip, and this would lead to him leaving WCW, which was the last ever full-time gig he ever had in a major promotion. Now, while he would make sporadic appearances over the next 20 years for WWE, WCW, TNA, and New Japan, he would not become a regular member of any of those rosters ever again. He would, however, open both his own wrestling school and company, and among the people he trained was Trevor Murdoch.
Very
Very
nice.
nice. Yeah. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe he also trained Ted DiBiase Jr. Because if it is Ted DiBiase, whoever it was I'm thinking of, it was a second generation wrestler whose father did not trust the WWE developmental system to train them, so they sent him to Harley. And Ted sounds about right.
Mhm. I actually think it should be obvious that Trevor was trained by Harley Race because currently in the NWA, he's calling himself the King Trevor Murdoch. Like, if you didn't know, you'd know.
Yes. Also, at WCW's recent Clash of the Champions, over a 3-minute period, Hulk Hogan managed to bury both the top heel of the promotion and the number 2 babyface. As at the end of the main event tag team match where he and Randy Savage took on the Butcher and Kevin Sullivan, Butcher put him to sleep, and Randy Savage gave him a flying elbow drop. Now, when you hear that, you might think Randy Savage turned heel because he just gave his best friend his finishing move. No, that was done to wake Hulk Hogan up, because when Savage gave him the top rope elbow, Hulk Hogan jumped to his feet to begin his comeback. Then, after the match, Vader hit the ring and gave Hulk Hogan a powerbomb. Now, this powerbomb paralyzed Joe Thurman, injured jobbers, injured Cactus Jack. Hulk Hogan sold this move for about 15 seconds and got right up to his feet and ran Vader off.
Yeah, that's Terry Bollea for you.
Yep. Now, WCW, showing a little bit of intelligence, when they replayed this in the next couple weeks building up to Super Brawl, they edited out Hogan no-selling it.
Good.
Yeah. And then the final bit of news isn't even so much something that's for this week, but it's something that's going to be brought up in a week or two. Legendary AWA wrestler Jerry Crusher Blackwell passed away at the age of 45. And not that, it's not important to pay tribute to the legends of wrestling when they pass away. Mean Gene Okerlund does something in a couple weeks that there's a reason why I'm bringing this up now. It's so I can pay it off with something scummy that Gene Okerlund does in a couple weeks.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to that, I guess.
With a question mark?
I mean, I can't say I look forward to Gene Okerlund doing something shitty, so I'm just okay. Well, I guess that's going to happen.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, you wanted to get this done in an hour, and hey, we hit an hour right on the dot.
Yeah, congratulations. You are a fantastic booker and promoter. You keep time better than most other wrestling promotions too. So kudos to you, Arya.
It was really difficult. I wrote down what time it was when I hit record, and I'm now looking at the clock, and it's an hour later. Um, but
but
so
you're actually paying attention, which I trust you more with keeping the time than Buddy Landell during a Dirty White Boys match.
there you go. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. We'll be back, of course, next week. We'll be back tomorrow with Impact and the full array of shows next week. But thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
See ya.